Good morning from my last full day here in Campeche. I am heading today to the ruins of Edzna, which is about 45 minutes outside the city. So I'm just heading over here to the area where the colectivos are to find one that will take me to the ruins. Another hot day here already. It's only 9:30 and it's about 27 degrees Celsius, but it's been snowing back home, so I'll take it. Let's make our way over to the colectivos. So if you're in Campeche, the easiest way to find the colectivos is to make your way over to the corner of Calle Nicaragua and Chihuahua, and you'll see a bunch of minibus collectivos parked there. Just ask the drivers if they're going to the ruins or the Edzna ruins. Either way, there's a bunch of different buses that leave from here. This one I'm sitting in right now is going to Peach, P-I-C-H, and it actually passes right past Edzna, so it'll drop me off there. I know there's also collectivos to Bonfil, I believe it's called, and they will also take you there. So it's about 45 minutes or so from the city, and I believe the cost is 45 pesos. That was to be confirmed, but I believe that's the price. And they usually only leave once they're full. That's the other trick. However, this one should be leaving here shortly, as it's scheduled to depart around 10 o'clock, and I think everyone else is just about to board. Alright, so after about a 45-minute ride on the colectivo from the town, we got out here no problem, and it was 60 pesos for the colectivo to here, and he said he'd be back at 1 o'clock, so if I want to ride back into town with him, he'll be here at that time. So I've got a couple hours to check out the place, which I think from what I've gathered should be enough. Once again, I've got my 2 tickets, so there's the entry ticket, and then of course the ever popular video recording ticket as well. So should be good to go. So let's just get going and have a look and see what's here. There looks to be about 15 people here, including myself, so that's pretty exciting. Alright, so we're just going to have a quick look through here, the little museum, and then head out to the main ruins. It's a replica of the mask that was found on the Acropolis. So Edzna is a town you can see here on the map. So here's the state of Campeche, here's the city where we came from, and here's Edzna here. And Edzna ended up being a regional capital for the Maya towards the biggest period for the city. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get outside here. But I'm just going to quickly walk through this and then head outside, and if we have time, I will double back here later. Some of these are really cool though. I keep looking at them getting distracted because they're pretty sweet. So this one here is 4 meters tall and 1 meter wide and half a meter thick. And there's the drawing of what's on the stone. And there's the stone itself with the Maya hieroglyphs at the top. All right, let's head up. So one of the things I was told about Edzna is that it's one of the most impressive Mayan cities around in the area, and for some reason one of the least visited. It's a weird combination. I don't know if it's because most people end up going to more famous sites in the region, like Chichen Itza, of course, is the most famous, and that's the one everybody goes to. Or if it's Teotihuacan in Mexico City, or Monte Alban, not sure. But everything that I read said that this is not one to miss. So I will follow those instructions. So here's a quick map of the city of Edzna, the archaeological area. We're going to enter from up there, and then we can have a look around the Great Acropolis, the Temple of the Five Steps, the small Acropolis, and some other things as well. Beauty of the day here. It's warm, but not super hot. And there's lots of shade here with the trees, which I'm sure will go away as soon as we get up to the city here. But yeah, nice walk through the woods to start. Very peaceful. So just a brief bit of info here. It says Edzna had been continuous occupation since 600 BC until the arrival of the Europeans in the 16th century, so 1500s. The city's greatest boom took place between 600 and 900 AD, and the population reached between 25,000 and 30,000 people. And the city was about 25 square kilometers in total. As of 1200 AD, the city was basically abandoned, and the buildings at that point laid in a state of ruin until they were discovered in the early 1900s. So Edzna was first discovered by archaeologists in the 1920s, but was not properly excavated until several decades later. So this one's, this laid silent for 800 years, and only in the last 60 or so years has it come back to life with the archaeological work and the restorations that were done here. So we started in that museum where I saw some people, and there was a group out by the bathrooms. But since I started walking up this trail to the city, I haven't seen a person yet. And if that keeps up, that'd be just wonderful by me. So as we walk through here, there's different bits of information about the Maya and their history and all the sort of things, talking about, the height of the Mayan civilization being between 600 and 1000 AD, so 400 years. And yeah, as we saw yesterday when we were at the Mayan Museum in Campeche, talked about how there's still approximately 8 million direct descendants of the Maya living throughout Mexico and Central America. So the Spaniards did their best to destroy the Mayan history and culture, but thankfully the people survived, and many of those people today still speak a version of the Mayan language. So here's our first stop on the tour through. This is the house of the Atlanteans, which which was a standard home built in the late Classic period. Hola, ¿cómo estás? It's okay to avoid, no problemo. Pretty standard brick home, a couple columns here, which I'm assuming at some point probably had some carvings on them. You can see here there were some columns out front that would have had a top piece as an entryway here as well. And we are in the thick of it out here, which I kind of love. La ciudad es a la derecha. Gracias. So we'll double back here just a little bit to get back to the road over to the main city, which I saw through the trees here as we were walking over. It's a cool looking tree. It's interesting that one's kind of off in the woods almost by itself in comparison to the main temple area. Wow. I don't know if it shows up on the camera or not, but you can just see the bottom layer of the Temple of the Five Steps there, and wow, it's huge. Actually, that may not be it. That might actually be the Acropolis. Risk of falling, I would agree. I'm pretty clumsy, so this is building number 501, they call it. And what's interesting about this building is that initially it was much smaller. It was a pyramid, which has been discovered in the center of this larger structure. So the pyramid in the basement, which would have been at ground level here, is 50 meters square. And over time, between the 1st and 5th centuries AD, the rest of the building was then built on top of it. And I kind of like that some of these places here are, I don't want to say not as upkept, but just that they're more in tune with the nature around them, I guess, the best way to put it. Other than some workers, I haven't seen anybody else here yet. I kind of feel like Indiana Jones right now. Not the old Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny, but like Raiders of the Ark. Even though I'm old. Never mind. Huh. So, this is a ramp over Sakbe 4. And this is actually a road, or part of the road. And you can see it continues over this way. The ramps obviously were used, I'm assuming, to move things around in the area, maybe on wheeled carts or something like that. Standing here is pretty clearly defined, like there's one edge there and there's the other edge there, and this would have continued straight on down. So this little high area here is one of the original roads that were built here at Edzna. Welcome to the main courtyard of Edzna. So here we have in front of us, this is the South Temple. You can see it's got the 5 layers here, and was built between 200 and 600 AD. And the temple at the top, which you can just see a piece of there, The architecture corresponds to around 700 AD. There, one other person. So we've seen this structure now. I think this is our third time, maybe. This is another field for playing the ball game pelota. So again, you have the end here. You have the middle section where the game would actually be played, and there would have been a starting point probably right around here, roughly, where the ball would be contested from. One of the things I mentioned before about the game was that they could use their feet. In fact, that was incorrect. You cannot use your hands or your feet, but you could use your hips, knees, elbows, whatever else to move the ball around. This one here, this pelota field here actually has a good example. So these little broken off pieces that are right about there and there, they actually were circular and had a hole in the middle. And the idea was that if you were able to get the ball up through that hole, I think maybe it was an automatic win, because it would be so difficult, if you can imagine, trying to kick a ball up through there from down here on the ground. Like, that's a good, 20 feet away. So we are here standing in front of what's known as the Great Acropolis. And yeah, it's a very impressive looking building. So this Grand Acropolis building here is aligned with the sun. So it would rise on the eastern end and set on the western end, and it was aligned perfectly in that way. You can see here at the very bottom there's a base level which encompassed the entire building, and it ran approximately 160 meters in length. We're going to go up to the top after we look at a couple more things. For such a beautiful site, it's insane that there's like a dozen people here. Worth remembering that 25,000 people plus lived here. And now 1,000 years later, there's about a dozen of us here checking it out. It's crazy. So over here, I think, is one of the cooler named places that I've heard of so far from all the Mayan cities. Yeah, this is the Platform of the Knives. So it was named after the flintstone knives that were found here, belonging to the late Classic period between 600 and 900 AD. In total, this building had 20 bedrooms, and 12 of which had vaulted ceilings. So we'll take a walk up here through the main staircase. There used to be sort of a giant thatched roof that would have covered this entire building at one point. That's all, of course, long gone. You can still get an idea here. So there was, all the bedrooms that were up here. So you've got your bed platform, would have had the thatched roof over top with a little common area here. One of the things that's interesting with the archaeological work that's been done here is that we're able to identify different buildings were built at different times based on the type of construction. Again, the bedrooms on that end, and then these buildings here were erected at a later point, a couple hundred years after the fact. And they determined that based on the quality of the workmanship, which you can kind of see. So if you look over here, Everything's very squared off, lined up properly. And then in here it was kind of more so just almost slapped together. So we're going to head up to the top of the Great Acropolis here now to have a look, and as well as check out the main temple here. So this area of the Great Acropolis was known as the Pook Patio, and it's believed that this is where most of those who were higher up in the society here at Edzna would have lived. One of the unique, as far as I know, features here at Edzna as well were these curved shaped stone reliefs that would have surrounded the stairways that go up. So most of the time you've seen stuff that's been very cut off straight, but these were designed specifically to be more aesthetic. So I'm standing here at the top of the Great Acropolis and overlooking an amazing sight here. So this is the main courtyard in front of the Grand Temple, known as the Temple of the Five Steps. And yeah, what a sight. That building is just unbelievably massive. So for some perspective, if you look at the bottom left corner here, that's about 1.5 meters, so about 4 to 5 feet, and then it just continues beyond there. You're not able to climb that temple, which is fine because I wouldn't anyway, but yeah, what a incredible spot. And again, a couple people down there. There's a couple people here that I just helped take a picture of in front of the temple, and a few handfuls of others, and that's it. Now compare that to Chichen Itza, which gets thousands and thousands of people every day. To me, if you were coming to the Yucatan and specifically traveling through this part, it is an absolute no-brainer to come here and check out the Mayan city of Edzna. So we've made our way around to the other side. We were just up on top there to have a look down. It's worth noting, I suppose, that Edzna is not a super large city. Well, the ruins at least are not. You can walk around the whole area here in less than 2 hours for sure. And as I mentioned, it's never busy from what I understand and from what I've seen today. So you can take even longer, relax, wander around, read all the signs, check out every corner if you want. So this North Temple, provided from the information, went through 4 separate building periods, and they believe it was due to a change in the political climate, political leadership, and so different pieces were then added on to it based on whoever was in charge. So you get these low slope steps, These much higher steps up to what looks like was probably originally the platform. And then you've got these towers and a new section beyond that. So we are here at the base of the Grand Temple, and I'm just going to put my camera down for a second and walk over to show you how tall this thing is. So the main staircase here contained a total of 84 hieroglyphs, some of which you can see here. And what was particularly important about these hieroglyphs is that they actually contained dates and names of rulers here at the time. So it's easy to use that as a guide to try and determine, you know, when certain events happened or when certain sections were built, what have you. The primary staircase was built in the classic period between 600 and 900 AD. And then for whatever reason, it was rebuilt a couple of centuries later. So here's some more examples of the glyphs that run across the front of the staircase here. And one of the guardians still working here today. So this whole area here in front of the temple would have been used for ceremonies. This platform that's here was known as the platform of the sun. So in total, this Temple of the 5 steps or 5 floors reaches about 31 meters in height, which is about 100 feet or so. It's interesting that it says on the information that only this side had all the rooms on it. The sides and the back didn't have any rooms, just the straight sides of the building. But a very impressive temple for sure. This whole area is just fantastic. So that was the Temple of the Sun on that far end. I'll give you a $1 if you can figure out the name of this temple. This was the House of the Moon. So this is actually a full reconstruction. So this reconstruction was done in the 1970s before, you know, a lot of the specifications and things were done in order to essentially ensure correct design and preservation. You compare it to the Temple of the Sun over there, and you can see how squared off and clean everything is on this one. Here's another one of the guard dogs that are here. Just munching away on the greens. One more shot here of the upper courtyard with the Temple of the 5 Steps, Temple of the Sun and Moon, this Great Acropolis building that I'm standing on top of, and again a very well defined road that heads over there so that people could bring offerings to the temple. I know I say this a lot, but being here, getting to see all these places, is just, to me, is incredible. I feel very fortunate to be able to do it, to travel around and experience all this, and I hope that, you know, if you're watching this video, that you enjoy it as well. It's just, it's a dream come true, you know, and I wouldn't have planned this trip any other way so far. Everything has been great, and yeah, this is why I wander, to find places like this. Man, these security guards are everywhere. Very warm, so one thing I will recommend is very good sunscreen and very good bug spray as well. Or if you have one that does both, all the better. There is 1, 2, that guy's dipped under there, 3, other iguanas, 4 giant iguanas, all right here, which is pretty cool. This is one of the few buildings that had a tunnel underneath of it as well, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so this is structure numbered 432, and take a little walk in here. There's one more little area inside here of interest. It's kind of more off to the side here a little bit. Hey dude. It's just like, this is like a meeting place for iguanas. They're everywhere here. I love it. This here was actually the basement floor, which was supported by those columns across the top of a much larger structure that sat on top of these ruins. And if we go over here, so again, this is another part of that same basement structure that would have gone farther back and would have been supporting a much larger building on top. I was looking for one spot in particular. I haven't seen it yet. It's not there. Yeah, this is the Yard of the Ambassadors is what this is called. But this is not the piece I was looking for either. Anyway, I'm just going to make my way back out to the front. The guy who dropped me off said he was going to be back through here around 1 o'clock to head back to Campeche. I thought I would make it easy on myself to just be there when he's passing through. This is not sunburn, by the way. This is just warmth. So, Edzna. Incredible place. Can't honestly recommend it enough. I'm glad I took the time to do some research and find a place that is just as good as any I've seen and very few people seem to know about. So, highly recommended it. Again, getting here from a town with a collectivo was not very difficult at all. And I would recommend that if you do come here, that's, certainly the most affordable way to go. For the sake of, it was 60 pesos. And you don't have to get a taxi for several hundreds, or you don't have to organize a tour that's even more than that. You can just kind of come by yourself if you want and explore it on your own speed. Anyway, that's going to do it for our tour of the Mayan city of Edzna here near Campeche. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like or a comment below to let me know that you were here. Let me know your thoughts on what you saw today and if you enjoyed it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do that as well. If you'd like to support me further, there's some information in the description below on how you can do that. And remember, life is short, so go wander. I'll see you in the next video.